to Sham's Makeup Artistry, and in today's review I'm going to review a foundation that I have been trying out. And this foundation has already been released and it's available at the website of the brand itself, and it's also available at Sephora, and it's none other than the Nars Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation. Yes, this foundation has already been released at Sephora. Earlier it was only available at Nars. And I got the shade Tahoe, which is medium dark number 2, and this foundation retails at $49 and there are 33 shades overall, so I'm pretty sure that all of us can somehow match to a particular shade in this foundation range, because the range is pretty huge, just like the Fenty Beauty foundations. I'm kind of seeing a lot of foundation brands are coming out with wider range of foundation shades to cater all skin tones, so that is kind of really nice to do, because when it comes to my skin tone, it's pretty hard to find the exact skin tone or exact shade in any foundation. So recently I've been getting matched pretty well, and I decided to pick up the shade Tahoe. I actually got mine through the Nars website itself, and this foundation is a natural radiant longwear foundation, and it's a 1 fluid ounce of foundation, which is 30 ml. And it claims that it's the Nars first longwear foundation that looks stronger, stays longer with skin recognition, pigments for the truest color match, and 16-hour of wear, featuring Nars skin optimizing complex raspberry, apple and watermelon extracts for smoother, healthier looking skin. And it says that you just have to shake the bottle well and then start applying on the center point of your face and then slowly blend it outwards. So let's take a look at the foundation itself. Of course, the box packaging is very similar to any of the Nars packaging, very simple. And then this is how the foundation itself looks like. It comes in a sleek form of foundation bottle. It's of course glass, so you have to be careful when you're traveling with it. And it does come with a matte cover, which is very much Nars packaging again, and it comes with a pump. And I of course prefer a foundation that comes with a pump. I'm pretty sure all of us do, because it's much more easier to work with than trying to just put it over your hands or all over your face and then just get messy. So again, I did pick up the shade Tahoe, and online it says that it has a caramel undertone. So I don't feel that I do have a caramel undertone. I kind of feel that I do have a neutral undertone, but I just decided to pick out this shade because most of the foundations that I have tried out from Nars, I go with the shade Tahoe. So that's why I decided to pick out this shade Tahoe as well. So I'm actually wearing the foundation on my face area today, as you can see, and I do have a demo of myself applying the foundation somewhere right here in the video, so that you guys can take a better look on how it looks on my skin. When it comes to foundation trial or even a review, I personally like using my primers, because that's how I usually apply my foundations. I do not put on foundations without a primer. It somehow doesn't make me comfortable. So I tend not to skip the process even during a review, if that does make sense to you guys. And the primer that I used together with the foundation today was the Too Faced Hangover Replenishing Face Primer. Reason being, my skin is a little bit more on the drier side, so I am using this particular primer which hydrates the skin. And I also used my Dior Glow Maximizer just on my cheek area, just to give an additional glow to my face area. And it makes the foundation glides on a little bit more smoother when your skin is a little bit on the drier side. With this foundation, I personally liked using my Real Techniques face brush. I did try out this foundation with my Marc Jacobs brush, and I kind of did not like how it wears with this particular brush, how it blends in. I did not like it at all. So what I do is I use the face brush from Real Techniques. I just blend it over my face. I just dab it and then slowly I swirl the brush in, and then at the end of my application for the foundation, I like blending it with my beauty blender. Of course, this looks dirty and disgusting, but I like using my beauty blender to blend in this foundation, and then I feel that the foundation sinks in into my skin. When I used only the face brush to apply the foundation, I kind of felt that this foundation just sat on my skin. It did not melt into my skin. When I tend to use the brush together with the beauty blender, it tends to melt in well into my skin. I am very fearful of trying Nars's foundation. One main reason is because most of their foundations tend to break me out badly. So whenever I want to pick up a foundation from Nars, I'm very hesitant about it. But this foundation thus far has not like broke me out or anything like that. The very first day or the second day when I was trying out, I was kind of very fearful. Even when a bump starts to appear on my face area, I kind of like freaked out, but this foundation did not break me out, so that's a plus point for this foundation. So let's look at what Sephora has to say with this foundation. Like it has mentioned, a foundation up to 16-hour light wear natural fade resistant wear featuring full powered radiance to the smooth look of the skin. I personally have not worn this foundation for 16 over hours, but I do not feel that the foundation just stays put for that long hours. The very first reason is they do say that this foundation works well for sensitive, normal, dry to combination skin, and they do say that it gives you a medium to full coverage. I personally feel that this foundation gives a pretty good coverage for my skin type. I only need like a very small 1 to 1.5 pump of this foundation, and it kind of gives me the full coverage that I personally need for my skin. And I tend to use the half over my cheek area just to give it an additional coverage to my cheek area. But when it comes to a 16-hour wear, I personally feel that this foundation has to be like a matte foundation, that it doesn't slide over your face area. Even with my combination skin, I tend to get oily on my T-zone area. So I personally feel that this foundation is more like a long wear foundation, but it does get oily throughout the day. Even though the weather is pretty cold, I still notice that the oil starts to come in on my T-zone area. Even if I do not use like an hydrating primer, I've also tried it with my normal primers, and I've still felt that the oil does pull through as the hours pass by throughout the day. So with this foundation, I personally feel that it's not meant for like oily skin girls, because it will bring out your oil. Because like I mentioned, I do have a combination to dry skin, and yet I do notice my skin getting oily on my T-zone area. If you would like to try out this foundation for oily skin girls, I personally would want to recommend you trying out a matte primer before you put on this foundation, because as much as it's a long wear foundation, you tend to get oily if you are more on the oiliest side. But if you tend to have like a normal to combination to dry skin, this foundation may work very well for you. I would say that this foundation, it is fragrance free and it's non-drying. It doesn't feel dry on the face area, especially when I have dry skin. It doesn't really click on to the dry areas of my face, but I do not feel that it's like an oil-free foundation, if that does make sense to you guys. So if you were to ask me if this is like a die must-have foundation, I would say that if you are more on normal to combination to dry skin, you will definitely enjoy this foundation. A little goes a long way, and it gives a beautiful look to the skin. And I do like how the foundation feels on the skin. It's very light on the skin. It doesn't feel like you have foundation on, and it doesn't feel heavy looking. Even when I'm looking at the viewfinder, I kind of feel like I do have a foundation on, but it doesn't look like it's heavy on the skin, if that does make sense. I like the Jouer foundation. I kind of feel that whenever I look at the mirror or I look at the viewfinder, I do see myself having like a full coverage foundation. But with this foundation, it looks much more like a natural kind of foundation over the face area, and it doesn't feel tacky, and it doesn't feel that you have an heavy kind of feel over your face. So for me, this foundation is not like a die must-have foundation, but it's a pretty beautiful foundation to try on. And for oily skin girls, like I mentioned, it's not that it would not work for you at all, but you just have to be careful with the oil sinking into your skin during the hours that you're out. Maybe later part of the day, slowly you can see the oil coming through your skin. So I do hope that you found my review and also my demo on the Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation by Nars being helpful for you guys to decide or not you're going to pick up this foundation. Definitely know on the comment box below. To my very next one, stay beautiful both inside and out. Give me a thumbs up, share all your love and support, and subscribe to my channel. Goodbye.